since I'm a second-year master's student, and since I'm a second-year master's student, that means that I'm a first-year graduate in crop geology. So, if I screw up something, it's my first time. Well, we're going to kind of play Sherlock Holmes here and try to track our fertilizer through the soil profile. And as Jared Fender and as Sam Astonish, I'm also a Dr. Bilo student. And because of that, I'm a part of the squad that likes to see what is below ground. So, coming to our soil, I'll start with a question. What properties of fertilizer use impact nutrient mobility? And the response to that is actually quite simple. The 4 R's of nutrient stewardship. And I'll start talking about the right source of fertilizer application. And what do we understand as the right source of fertilizer application? So we tend to think that the fertilizer moves with water flow through the soil profile. So because of that, the more soluble the source is, the more it's going to move and more is going to be available for the next plant. The next one is the right time of fertilizer application. And we have our full season here, our full season, and spring, summer, fall, and winter. During winter time, we cannot do much because everything frozen out. But the most common way of fertilizer application here in the US is actually fall. And fall application may lead to some problems, as we all know, because the fertilizer can be stuck in the soil profile and also can leach with water. So we have the spring that could be a better timing of fertilizer application. But we know that spring is a time that the farmers are in a hurry. This here is a good example. We have very wet spring, and the farmers just couldn't go on the farm and plant because everything was so wet. And they didn't want to waste time applying fertilizer while they are trying to plant. And as Miranda and Connor Steve already told, every time you lose a day while planting, you're losing yield in the end. So you don't want to lose those days in the beginning of the season. So what we are trying to see here is that if we apply the fertilizer in season around V4, V6, we're going to have the same response as a pre-plant fertilizer application. And why do we think this is possible? Well, I came here with this graph that shows the fertilizer uptake rate. This is an example of phosphorus uptake rate. And we can see as the growth stage goes, we have our plant needs more and more fertilizer. And we think that we applied the fertilizer here in the beginning of the season. This fertilizer will somehow solubilize and be available where the plant needs the most fertilizer here by the root zone. And with that, we come with the right rate of fertilizer application. So, what we think is going to be better to have a higher rate of fertilizer application, a lower rate of fertilizer application. For those who are not seeing, I'm not the only pink thing here. We also have our pink fertilizer around. And actually, I didn't ask them to dye the fertilizer. They just came to me like this. I don't know why. Maybe it's a coincidence, maybe not, I don't know. So, what we know about the right rate of fertilizer application is actually that the optimal rate of fertilizer application is somewhere between the highest and the lowest fertilizer rate application. And then we come with our last property of fertilizer, of nutrient stewardship, that is the right place of fertilizer application. And we know that we have two major placements of fertilizer, broadcast and banded. Banded can be subsurface banded fertilizer application, surface banded fertilizer application. As Jared already told a lot about subsurface banded fertilizer application. And the most common way here is broadcast fertilizer application, but we not always can drop spread our fertilizer in our fields as plot researchers. So what we do, we go with our hand spreader to apply our fertilizer. And as the broadcast application is the most convenient way of fertilizer application because it's quicker, it's easier to be done on the field, but we can have nutrient losses because the nutrient is available for leaching and also to be stuck in the soil profile. And it's not so available for the roots. As you can see, the roots do not grow so much horizontally. And then we have the subsurface banded fertilizer application that is way more efficient because we concentrate the nutrients nearby the rhizosphere. But it does need more labor and more time, especially needs more diesel because the equipment usually is working much more the soil, so it's going to need way more diesel to work. And then we have my study here that is surface banded fertilizer application. And we already know that a lot of farmers use the eye drop widely spread, mostly used for nitrogen application. But what we are trying to see is that if a banded fertilizer, surface banded fertilizer application of a dry fertilizer could have the same result as a broadcast fertilizer application. And what it would allow us is a great application window for our fertilization. And we're concentrating at growth, so we hope that the fertilizer is going to be solubilized and be available for a plant. But we do need more research on that, and also we don't have equipment to do it on the farm. So who does it in our experiments? Our interns. So they get this bottle, they bend their knees, and they spread the fertilizer, try to be very evenly into the row. They love this job. Everybody has his back hurting at the end of the day. So yeah, but it is what it is, it's research. And what is the difference between the eye drop and the dry drop? Both are applications in the right time and in the right place. Eye drop being a liquid fertilizer application and the dry drop a dry fertilizer application. But with our dry drop, we have more blend options. We can blend maybe biologicals in our fertilizer. Maybe we can blend some micronutrients. And it's way more cheaper than a liquid source. And there's no jar test required. You don't need to test if you're going to have a precipitation in your tank or you're going to have any kind of problems. And what makes the dry drop possible is something we call funneling effect. So the corn plant has this ability of concentrate all the rain, also the dew, in his body, and his water just flows through the plant and then solubilize our fertilizer, making it available for the plant. Actually, this is a picture of last year's trial. And as we remember, last year was a very dry year. And even though we were seeing our dry fertilizer being solubilized into the soil profile. Now we're going to see what happens into our soil profile. Here we have our soil profile, our beautiful corn root. And here we can see our depths in each, 0 to 12. And now we're going to apply our fertilization here as a broadcast. What do we think is going to happen? So this fertilizer does not move, pretty much stay on the top 2 inches of the soil and just stay where it was applied. Maybe this fertilizer just moves slightly into the soil profile. Maybe moves 0 to 4 inches, we don't know. Or maybe what happened is that the nutrients move differently. So maybe our pig got stuck on the first 2 inches and the rest of the nutrients just flows more through the soil profile. And what happens when you concentrate our nutrients? Does it gonna move differently? Does it gonna be more available for the plant to uptake? Well, I'm going to spare you of another animation. I'm also going to spare myself of having to animate each of those dots individually. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you the final nutrient change through the soil profile. And here we have our soil depth, as the same way as I already showed you guys, but here divided per inches, 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, and 6 to 12. And to explain a little bit more of how this graph was made, I actually have to show you how we did the data collection. So we went pre-plant and we soil sampled each of the plots. We tried to soil sample in the row 2, where the place of the row 2. And then at this big row stage of the corn, we went and we soil sampled 2 inches from the corn plant, because it was the same place as we applied our dry drop. So then we subtract our pre-plant minus our VT soil sample. And because of that, we have this result of soil pH in ppm, that is the nutrient change from VT to pre-plant. And what we can see here, for example, we have our unfertilized control. That means it's a plot that we didn't apply any kind of fertilization. And we can see here that the amount of nutrients through the soil profile is pretty much the same. It doesn't change much. While we have the broadcast, we have a little bit more nutrients available in the top 2 inches, but not so much down to the soil profile. And then we come to our lignite colors, orange and blue. That was a coincidence, I swear. And then we have our lignite colors that represents our eye drop and the dry eye drop. And we can see that whatever we concentrate the nutrients into the first 2 layers, we actually move way more this nutrient through the soil profile. We can see here the huge increase in nutrient availability into top 2 to 12 inches, even 6 to 12 inches there. This is a lot of increase in nutrient availability. Does it happen only with phosphorus? Actually, no. We actually saw the same behavior with potassium. Every time we concentrate a nutrient in the top of the soil, we actually move it way more than we just broadcast fertilizer. And that means that with the same rate of fertilizer application, we're actually going to have more nutrient availability for the plant. But how does this nutrient movement impact our yield in the end? That's what everybody wants to know, the yield. So we have our treatments with 3 fertilizer sources. One is actually just the soil fertilizer source. That's why we call unfertilized control, because we didn't apply any nutrition. We have our dry P&K that was applied both as a pre-plant broadcast, spring pre-plant broadcast, and as in-season dry drop applied around V4 to V6. We also have our liquid P&K that was applied as eye drop in-season also. Our plots received the same amount of nitrogen, 180 bushels per acre. And our plots also received 80 pounds of P2O5 and 60 pounds of K2O. That was our rate of fertilizer application for our experiment. And what we got? So our yield for our unfertilized control was 272, was a very high yield for just a plot that only was fed by the soil. And then we have our broadcast. Just by applying fertility in our soil, even though it does not move so much, we have 7 bushels increase. Our liquid fertilizer application increased 2 bushels over the UTC. And when we think about, we have our dry fertilizer in-season application that we increase our bushels by 9 bushels per acre. It's the biggest increase that we had in the last season. And we think that because since the dry fertilizer is slowly being dissolved by the water and is being slowly released for the plants, we think that makes the plant being fed the whole season. So because of that, we have the highest increase in yield in the end. So our key takeaways. Surface banding of fertilizer increased the nutrient movement through the soil profile. With a higher nutrient availability, we have a higher grain yield in the end. The dry drop provides a similar or greater yield response than the broadcast. And the dry drop provides a greater application window for P&K. This is the most important thing for this study. And thank you all for listening.